Hey, what's going on, everyone? I've got another quick video here for you today, just going over the current calorie and macro split that I'm on right now. In the past 5 days, I've lost 4.2 pounds. Now, is that something that's going to be sustainable? Definitely not. I would imagine in the next couple of days here, we'll definitely see a plateau and we'll have to adjust numbers again. But for now, with this split, we're on good pace. So the calorie split is 1,813 calories, 152 grams of carbs, 49 grams of fat, and then 191 grams of protein. If you're following me on Instagram, you'll recognize some of the screenshots that I'll be using in the video here today. So rather than just actually going through the day, I'll just use what I had to eat the other day and go over why I ate those certain things. So the diet that I work with is what's abbreviated as IIFYM, which is if it fits your macros, which essentially just means I can eat whatever I want so long as it fits within the macronutrient split that we have set. So there aren't any things that are off limits necessarily, but if you choose to eat something like a donut, then you're going to use, say, 16 grams of fat when I only have 49 grams to use in a day. So I think of it as sort of like a currency almost. So I'm basically trading the macros that I have for the foods that I want, so long as it fits within those macronutrient splits. So for a little bit of perspective, if you're not used to counting calories or macros, you might not know how much or how little this is right now. A typical off-diet meal that I might have at Five Guys, for example, would be a bacon cheeseburger and then half an order of regular fries. And I'll put those macronutrients on screen alongside with what I have total, and you can see just the burgers and the fries, no drinks or anything, that's 1,395 calories, 60 grams of protein, 105 carbs, and 82 fat. So if I had nothing but that all day, I'm already well above my fat, and I would need to do a lot of protein shake drinking to reach my protein goal. So obviously this is a very extreme example, but it just gives you a sense, like, one meal could easily cost 1,400 calories. And so if you're working with 1,800 or less for the whole day, this is probably going to be off the table. So for my first meal, I like to eat around 9 in the morning. When I get up earlier, I'll usually just make a cup of coffee to hold me over until right about 9 o'clock, because I like to go to the gym a couple hours after that. And I just find that that timing works well for me. And as you can also see, I've got a decent amount of fat in this first meal. For me, I find that I work out better with that little extra fat in the morning rather than later in the day. So that's just how it works for me. But with IIFYM, you can really have it however you want. If you want to eat less in the morning, that's totally fine. So looking at what I had 2 egg whites and 2 whole eggs. So I just want to show on screen here the difference between an egg with a yolk, which is 75 calories, 7 protein, and 5 fat, as it compares to just the egg white, which is 25 calories, 5 protein, and 0 fat. So while the eggs are great and everyone should be including eggs in their diet, if you're having 4 to 5 whole eggs in the morning for breakfast, you're gonna run up that fat total pretty quickly without realizing it. Similarly, a comparison between the choice of turkey bacon versus regular bacon. Turkey bacon, just 30 calories a slice, 6 grams of protein, and 1.5 fat, versus your typical slice of bacon, which is gonna be 60 calories, 5 fat, and a similar amount of protein. So definitely one of the most satisfying parts of the meal. The turkey bacon is really only costing you 90 calories, and you're getting a pretty good amount of protein compared to the fat. Spinach and greens in particular are really good because you can eat a lot of volume for what the calories are. When you cook spinach down, it obviously shrinks in size, but this is a good amount of spinach. It'll fill you up and it's not going to cost you a lot of calories. Lastly, the macros for the bagels that I eat are right here. This is one that you could definitely substitute for another carbier choice. I just prefer bagels. And also I've found that towards the end of my day, I'm a little bit shorter on the fat side, so I've switched to peanut butter rather than cream cheese or a jam or something like that. But I just do a half a bagel, only about 15 grams of peanut butter, and that pretty much rounds out the breakfast. Also, really importantly, I would go and look up how many calories are in your typical coffee that you have in the morning. So for example, one on screen here is the mocha white chocolate from Starbucks, which actually is going to run you 430 calories, 14 protein, 18 fat, and 55 carbs. So compare that to just black coffee, which is of course 0 calories. You might be getting more calories just from your drinks than you might think. That's not to say that you should never have those things. Obviously, if you like it a lot, make room for it, have it every once in a while. But if it's every day you're having a 400 plus calorie coffee, it's definitely gonna add up. I would equate it to almost an hour of cardio to burn off one grande white chocolate mocha coffee. So meal 2 is nice and easy. Around 1:30 when I get back from the gym, I'll just do 2 scoops of protein and a protein bar. I'll mix the water in with the protein rather than milk just to save calories there as well. But if it fits within your range to go with milk and that's the taste you prefer, then go ahead. This is just my preference. So really quickly, for the 1 bar that I had, the macros I'll put on the screen, but it is important to note that all protein bars are definitely not the same. For example, here's a Cliff Bar, which is a really common protein bar, and then sort of like a Kind bar like this, where it's more nut based. Totally different macros. I would definitely be looking at nutrition labels when you're going to buy these things. If you're at a gas station, these are all going to vary. A good rule of thumb is just to think a 1-to-1 ratio between your fat and your protein. If it's got 10 grams of fat, you want to make sure it has at least 10 grams of protein. That's a good rule of thumb. So you're not eating a bar that's 12 grams of fat and only like 5 grams of protein. Now the next meal is just a snack, which the timing will depend on how I'm feeling after the gym. If I'm really hungry, I'll have it a little bit earlier, but usually after the shake and the protein bar, that'll hold me over at least a few hours. And in this particular case, I went for a 0% fat yogurt and blueberries. Sometimes I'll have a bowl of protein cereal and fat-free milk, but in this case, this is what I had. Similar to the protein bars, yogurts are definitely not the same. I would encourage you to look again at the nutrition labels for some of these. The 000 yogurt is really good. I'll usually have that. This is the first time I've tried like a Trader Joe's brand, but something like a Yoplait yogurt, I'll put the nutrition information on screen there. It's not terrible, but when you're talking about a diet where you have a certain amount of protein to hit and you only have a little bit of fat to go along with that, every little thing counts here. So this is going to be really important. Now, this is the important part here. Before the last big meal, what I do is work backwards. So I calculate how much more of each macro I need, and that'll determine the amount of dinner that I have. So in this case, I had chicken and rice. I had calculated that 6 ounces of chicken and 4.5 ounces of rice was going to put a good dent in the remaining calories that I had. And I knew that at this time I had dinner a little bit earlier and I want to save a little bit for a snack at the end. So I literally went into in my case, the Fitbit app, but you can use the MyFitnessPal app, and I typed in how many ounces of chicken breast would get me this amount of protein. I figured it out, and that's how I got to those numbers. Obviously, a food scale would be massively important here. If you don't have one already and you want to do a diet like this, you definitely need to invest in one. And I knew that the chicken and rice wasn't going to get me to where my fat goal needed to be. So I had already counted, hey, I'm going to need to eat some peanut butter. In this case, it was almost a full serving of peanut butter, and I didn't want to just eat it by itself. So I left out the amount of carbs a banana would be so I could have the banana with the peanut butter, and I basically just took that away from the amount of rice that I was going to eat for dinner. So that's just my preference. Again, you're welcome to do that any way you like. If you'd rather just eat more rice and then just eat the peanut butter straight up, that works too. If you're someone who likes to stay up late, you might want to leave some macros for the end of the day that you could have before bed, but I'd really encourage you to eat all your meals before like 9:30 if you can help it. And you can see we got pretty darn close to what our macro goals for the day were. You're never going to get it like right on the dot, so don't be too discouraged if you're a little off here and there. It'll depend on the day, but what's important is just trying your best and being consistent. Additionally, this type of diet is not gonna last forever. I can't sustain eating this amount for too long. So I know it's just gonna be another 6 weeks or so, which makes it a lot easier for me to get through it day to day. So whatever your diet plan is, make sure that there's a date or a goal in mind, so that way it helps you remember this isn't forever. It's just until you reach that goal. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.